Hey guys, welcome back to Chris and Retro. Well, we kind of knew this was going to happen, but since Trump has been elected, we have had all kinds of craziness, as I think would be expected. It happened the last time he was elected, and then got a new president that pandered to a lot of the stuff that really was putting us in a bad situation. And now here the craziness starts again, even though the vast majority voted him into office and all of his staff in terms of his selections. So, I mean, of course we can have an opinion. I mean, there's going to be a population that isn't happy about Trump being in there, but I don't think people are really looking at what it is that they're upset about. I think it's just they're not looking at the totality. They're looking at their special interest, and that special interest, I think it's blinded, candidly. And in this video tonight, I'm going to share just some of the hysteria that's out there. This video is really about just accept reality for what it is. I mean, many of us have had to accept the last 4 years of what I felt like was a weakening of a nation, and there's going to be some course correcting that's going to happen immediately. We're seeing things in my own business and the work that I do, and some issues that we're running into. So I don't think that every decision he makes is going to be good. I think there's going to be things he does that are wrong, but he's a business leader that's doing what business leaders do when they take over, and that is aggressively institute their policy, especially when you realize what 4 years, how short it is, and get moving. But as a result of that, there's been other people in his family have been targeted with some stuff, and I'm going to share some things that have been coming out recently. But you know, the border issue. We keep going back to the same crap we've been hearing forever. They take the most heart wrenching thing and make that's less than 5% probably of any of this stuff going on, and make that the reason why this policy shouldn't go forward. The border arguments I keep hearing is, so you're going to separate families. Well, that was the first thing, and it didn't really fly because it's not a consistent problem with what we're trying to deal with here. The second thing was it may be a consistent problem. I don't know for sure what that is. I can tell you that I believe that what typically happens in the media is they take the one thing that seems so noble and try to hang on to it when the problem is not being solved by taking that one small percentage and making policy around it. We have to make policy based on what's going to protect our country, and I think that's what's being done currently based on my understanding of how things are going and what is being instituted. Um, there has to be a strong position as a nation for us to be strong, and if you believe in this flag, which I still do, and more so now because I believe we have a chance to grab back what we gave away in a very quick period of time. But there are things that are, I feel like we're foolish. Of course, a lot of the people that are in rough situations, I support. Um, but I think what happens is that we've been manipulated to think that that's what the policy is actually supporting, and they breathe that into us that's what they're doing. And in fact, the optics of everything we saw in the last administration did not reflect what was actually running this country. They were used as veils to get us to fall asleep and think everything was just fine, while they were getting richer and richer and richer, and we were getting poorer. And if you don't feel that, then I feel like you're knowingly or decisively turning a blind eye to what was actually happening. So, I think all of us collectively are going to feel some heat through this whole thing as we try to course correct our nation. But I think we all should accept that based on the fact that we'll have a future for our kids, and that's important to me. The border issue is something that I'm torn. I mean, I got close friends that are impacted by this in terms of their loved ones, and I don't do this video blindly. As a white man or anything else, I do it based on the business of our country. We're competing against other businesses in other countries, and I think we were able to take a stand that we chose not to, as reacted by some other foreign leaders. But I've heard everything. We're starting the same nonsense again. So we start the border thing. We talk about separating families, and then when that wasn't really flying, now we're like, oh my God, you're going to churches and schools. And there are instances where that's happening, but you have to ask yourself, why is it we have to go in there? Because people that are breaking the law are going in there and hiding. And given some of the instances, most of the instances of the people that are being removed first, they are very violent people that don't even want to be returned, that their own countries don't want them back. Haiti's leader has said that it's going to destabilize their nation to have a plane full of criminals put back in their country. Well, no kidding. Why would we want them? We want them back where come from if they're criminals. Colombia, we've very high profile press releases about what the Colombian president said, and he retracted based on the fact that they don't want the criminals back either. Why would we want them? We don't, and that's why they came through the way they did. They were illegal and they were criminals, and they were causing harm to our U.S. born citizens and our patriots. Another thing that's come out is the LGBTQ plus community, of whom many I support as people. However, I think that some of the people that are their voice are not being even realistic, and unfortunately are making themselves look like fools because they grab a mic. In one instance, I heard somebody that I gather she was a lesbian or some version of whatever. I honestly, it's not mocking them. I really just can't keep up with all the variations of sexuality that are being claimed out there. But this person said that she's only allowed to use 7% of the bathrooms in the U.S. now, which I think is odd, considering the fact that I grew up using trees. But whatever, that's kind of how it goes. Um, you know, all this abuse and things like that they allege are going to be here. I'm going to unpack the most ridiculous of all this stuff, and just to show how far this has gone and how far it will go. And we'll get into that right away. So towards the end of the last administration, we were hearing a lot about drones. I don't hear so much about drones right now. We're hearing a lot about aliens. I don't hear a lot about aliens. All these things were really starting to just flood us with all this just garbage information while we're being distracted from the very serious things that were going on. We were sending trillions of dollars, I believe it was trillions, at least billions of dollars into the hands of foreign nations with no accountability. And we've seen over time that never works. And it hasn't been just the Democratic presidents that have done it. Bush sent a lot of money away that, was just foolish. And now they can't stand on their own laurels as leaders. They're saying, well, Reagan did this or that so and so did this. That the number one, the president that had the greatest brand of deportation was Obama. Obama deported a ton of people, and he was known for it. And he had public speeches about if you're not here legally, you do not belong. And so I mean, all these things are the things that we're grabbing onto because they're just so awful. Trump is such a bad person. I don't know either way. But what triggered this next portion, what's going to be really the meat of the video, and I didn't mean to make the intro about all that, but it's real hard to avoid it, especially with my thinking currently on it. And it could change as I see things go along. I've been wrong before. I don't mind, um, you know, admitting I'm wrong when I am wrong. But this one just seems like we're just doing the same old crap again, crying on camera and causing all kinds of craziness. And when substance doesn't matter, we go into the extraordinary, and that's what the rest of this video is about. So the other day I was flipping through TikTok and I came across something and it said mysterious. It was all he said, mysterious. And he's sitting there with a puzzled look on his face and he's showing video in the background. He's got mysterious and he's pointing arrows to different things. And he was citing Barron Trump. And of course, he's been a lightning rod of a lot of stuff through all this, and it has gone wildfire with the craziness. And I'm going to share some of that now. But it just goes to show that when policy is being exposed, and those that broke the law using noble intent as the way they got elected in, and they were breaking the law to violate our Constitution and take down a political opponent by weaponizing the federal government to do it. Um, I'm sorry, anything that comes back at him at this point in time is fair. So I've listed some of the things that are kind of the go-tos when we want to argue. We rip apart policy and stuff, and that's fine. They have the right for speech, but it really gets extraordinary. So prior, we had the drones and we had the aliens and things trying to flood the media because none of us were buying the rest of the crap. So they came out with this other extraordinary stuff, and now, including alleged warheads in the country and things, which is entirely possible. But that they just flood it with fear and they flood it either with nobility, and you don't buy that. You're not manipulated by the nobility that they're doing, and they can't prove they're doing anything noble. And your wallet is still empty, and you can't afford groceries. Now, what they'll do is then they'll switch it over to fear, and so fear was being driven down their throat. And so when all that stuff went away, now what do you got to do? Well, let's go to the land of make believe. So I'm going to share a few videos with you. I'm going to start with the first one that's really been a hotbed of conversation here, and this is so they've switched over to they're attacking Trump's policies, but now they've gone to the extraordinary with Barron. And I'm going to share a few videos of that right now with you. So this is when Barron was on stage, and I very obviously had changed his appearance for the inauguration. And this is the handshake with Biden. They haven't seen this. They're zeroing on Biden's face changing with whatever he said to Kamala. And then they'll clip this part after he talked to his mother as he looks back. think it's coming up right here. So he looks back and just looks around. Anybody that has awkward tendencies in public, um, you may have a different take on that, and I do have a different take on that. I don't see that as like a gangster thing. Now you'll see all kinds of clips, and they're playing. I think they've got a bunch of gangster rap in there. I think that one of them is a Snoop Dogg. They do, um, and they play this stuff over to make it look like he's being a gangster. But really, if you put any music over anything and slow it down and modify the video, you can make it a lot more gangster than it is. I personally think it's an 18-year-old kid that's still figuring out the fact that he's, I think, 6'7" or some ridiculous thing. He's a giant of a kid. He's been kind of an awkward. If you looked at him on camera prior to his, now he's 18, he didn't have a lot of confidence. He was just a kid. He was just following around a very famous man. He was just a kid, and now he's starting to kind of find his own. He's in college. He's starting a business, and he's presenting himself in a certain way. Now, interestingly, he's presenting himself exactly like his father did when his father was much younger. Same hair. He's even wearing his dad's long coat. Same hand gestures, the hand on the ear and the wave and the power position with his hands. These are all coachable things you give somebody that might be a little awkward on stage. And perhaps he had some fear. I really don't even know. But I'm speculating that there's another part of this story than him just coming up and being a smart mouth with Kamala and Joe Biden. And candidly, that blank look on Biden's face, we've seen before. He may have been just processing it, or maybe who's to say what he said? He may have said something courteous, and maybe Kamala made some smart comment about Biden's kid, and maybe Biden didn't, or I'm sorry, Trump's kid, and maybe Biden didn't like it. I mean, it would like him or not. He does seem to have interest in legacy of political reign, and has seemed to be respectful of the kids. You can take it where you were with the whole sniffing thing and stuff like that, but I would say, generally speaking, he's been respectful about the kids of elected officials, having been a career politician. So with that one, I think but that's one people are going crazy over. And I can take it either way with it. I mean, he definitely had a different demeanor, but they're making it one thing when actually he's literally taking on the persona of his father when his father was younger. If you look at older videos of Trump, hair slicked back, long overcoat, even the hand gestures, every single thing. It was almost like they scripted him to help him kind of seem like the second coming of Donald Trump. So I find that interesting. But that's not the end of it. I'll share some more. So, we started with that. And as all things wonderful on the internet, and this is one of the reasons why I love the internet, is we went from there. So this first TikTok thing that sent me down this road is somebody's like mysterious, and so I can't find the video anymore. And I think I'd never seen the YouTuber before, but he put up 2 videos and he probably brought them both down. The one, he was showing Barron in that same scene, and there was another camera angle out in the audience, and these arrows are pointed at 2 different gentlemen and trying to almost make it like these are sinister people, and there's like some other conspiracy going on here, when in fact the one person he pointed to was his grandfather. Now the backstory with his grandfather, that's his mother's father, and his grandparents were heavily involved in his life as a kid. They taught him their culture, their language, and were heavily involved in his life. And I believe that he's either in auto sales or something like that, but he's not, a bigwig by the Trump standard, but he has been very faithful to his grandkids by all understanding. His grandmother passed away, and now it's just the grandfather, and the Trumps bring the grandfather along almost always, and he's heavily involved around big events like this because he's part of the family. And so this conspiracy thing about this person watching, Barron so intently would try to make it seem like there's some, like sinister world behind him when it was actually his grandfather. So that video got pulled down probably because he realized what he had done, but that has really set off some stuff. And in that video, they were calling him Damon, from Omen, and he does kind of have that persona about him up there. But I think if you look at it logically, he looks exactly like his father and could very well have been taking on his father's persona at his father's inauguration after overcoming some extraordinary circumstances to even find himself in that position. But here's a second one I thought was kind of interesting. This is on TikTok as well. And this one is now going after his hand gestures. So we've gone from Trump's kid just showing up to now the hand gestures are a real problem. So here we go.
He conveyed 3 unsettling messages. During Trump's inauguration, Barron underwent a remarkable transformation. His confidence skyrocketed. and his eyes were filled with determination. However, his hand gesture of pointing upward has sparked a lot of unease. Some people believe that this is his true character. Behavior analysts have pointed out that this kind of gesture represents extreme confidence, assertiveness, being in control of power, and ignoring the opinions of others. This may imply that Barron's previous humble and low-key image was just a disguise. All along, Barron has successfully attracted countless young people.
Just for giggles, the credibility of this
Disguise.
out there.
All along, Barron humble and low-key image was just a disguise. All along, Barron has successfully attracted countless of others. This may imply that Barron's previous humble and low-key image was just a disguise. All along, Barron has successfully
This is now 20 feet tall. Give me a freaking break.
Attracted countless young people with his good student and good son image. Their support for Barron has contributed to Trump's election campaign, and Trump also specifically expressed his gratitude to Barron in his speech. However, there are also some worrying factors behind this. Some people speculate that Barron's power gesture at Trump's inauguration may be in response to Elon Musk's controversial gesture, suggesting his approval of Musk's behavior, and he may even engage in business cooperation with Musk within the next 4 years.
Others make a comment. The Elon Musk Hitler thing that everybody's going crazy about. I don't know what he was doing with that thing. I think the guy's awkward as can be, and I'm not trying to justify it. I think it was in poor taste at best, especially given our recognition of the Holocaust here this week. But to me, it seemed like more of a. I could see him being a smartass and mocking the people that were calling Trump Hitler. It felt more like him just being a smartass, like he's been known to be. If you noticed him, he kind of can be a smartass. He's the one that's told the Disney president "F you" on a panel discussion. I mean, the guy's brazen as can be. Not my favorite person. He's not my big cup of tea, I guess as you say. He's not my cup of tea. But the Hitler thing, he's a freaking awkward, and he could have been just throwing it in people's face that kind of mocking the whole Hitler thing, and that was kind of where I took it. But who knows? I mean, it maybe he was. I can't imagine he was doing that. But either way, they grabbed onto it. And in typical hypocrisy, because there are plenty of other people that have done those types of gestures, he clearly was mocking when he did it. That was not a salute in reverence to any Hitler type regime. It was clearly whatever he was doing was a mockery. The way he was doing it was so abrupt, and he kept turning around and doing it. He was goofing and laughing and jumping around. Clearly, he was just very awkward and definitely inappropriate. But they called that out here too.
Judge from Barron's dress style at the inauguration that he has the demeanor of a politician and is likely to follow in Trump's footsteps and enter the political arena in the future.
So who cares if he's going to enter the political arena? Probably will. But the speculation is that he will. Okay, that's speculation. I think it's fair speculation. I mean, there's plenty of politicians, their kids have followed in suit. Look at the Kennedys, for God's sakes. There's a family of those that are involved in politicians, political aspirations, and changed American history, honestly. So that's not really that unsettling. And the hand gestures, to me, are coached hand gestures. And he probably the same coaches that gave to his father. And not for nothing, I mean, he is a towering kid. He may still feel awkward. That stage presence on that huge of a stage, you don't know what's going through his head. His dad got shot months ago. There was an assassination attempt, several of them since then. There was one just before the inauguration, and allegedly why they had to bring it inside anyway. So here he is, an 18-year-old kid on stage. I'm sure he's not really looking forward to having somebody put a freaking bullet through him. He may have been feeling awkward about that too, but no, it's got to be some other conspiracy. But wait, it gets better. There's more to it than just that. Now, there it was hand gestures. There it was his change in his look, which was clearly a change in his look. And now what else? Well, let's see what else he's doing that's so wrong. So we'll go into the next video. This is also from TikTok. I'm not even sure. I didn't even check to see who the people were publishing this. Might have been the same person. I don't know. Actually, we'll go to the TikTok one, because I got one more after that. So this is another one. Oops. No, this one I'm going to hold off on this one. I'm going to show you the other one. Sorry. I'm going to show you the Twitter one, because this is also I'm sorry, Twitter, X, not X. So on this one, it's another one of these, like grandiose comments about him, and it's saying they're going off about Trump not putting his hand on the Bible. I don't know what this Melania tried to get close to him, but Robertson Trump didn't notice. I'm not sure what that is. Now we get 4 more years of people crying, saying he's not president. 4 more years of saying he's the Antichrist. So I know there's been some allegations that Trump is the Antichrist for people that want to have a fit about it.
And repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
That I will faithfully.
So here he is. They're calling, before they called Trump the Antichrist, but now they're like, but wait, Trump isn't the Antichrist. It must be Barron. So now they're calling. So the first one, he's awkward in conspiracy because of how he's dressed. Now in this video and some other videos I've seen, now Barron is allegedly the Antichrist. Here it says it's clear that Trump isn't the Antichrist. It's Barron. So now Barron somehow is the Antichrist because he dressed like his dad and showed a professional demeanor on stage, being an awkward 18-year-old kid that happens to be a giant above everybody else around him and had to have a special Secret Service detail of security around him that were tall too. So he's got a number of considerations, and already, if you look at previous videos, wasn't exactly that confident in terms of how he carried himself. But now all of a sudden, because his dad is president and because he changed his position, now all of a sudden he must be some secret, handshakes, and now he's the Antichrist here. And then several other channels have made that allegation. And now this is the one that sorry, I'm trying to give it its fair play, but I can't. It's just insanity to me. But here's the last one, and this one. So Trump was the Antichrist. We've already shared apparently he's the Antichrist, but this gets even better.
Time traveler? Conspiracy theorists think so, and here's why.
So
a series of 18.
So get this correct. Now these are interesting little connections, but I didn't verify what they're finding here. But we apparently have a number of books that were written prior. Now, if you notice, it's 2 different books. So I'm not even sure if they're correlating with each other. They allege it's the same author. So they're piecing these pieces together to come up with their theory here. And there are some remarkable similarities and things. So I get how they could make this leap if they were looking to make a leap. But we've got him first. It's a problem. He might be a politician someday, and he's changed his demeanor, and it was all scripted. We had that other TikToker that I wasn't able to find the video that basically said there's some people in the crowd that are a little bit weird, and it's his grandfather. And now, then he's the Antichrist, and now he's a time traveler.
1990s books by Ingersoll Lockwood features a boy named Barron Trump with eerie similarities to Barron. The fictional Barron travels through time and is mentored by a man named Don. Sound familiar? Another Lockwood book, The Last President, tells the story of a man living on Fifth Avenue who unexpectedly becomes president, sparking chaos. Fans can't ignore the parallels to Donald Trump's rise. Adding fuel to the theory, Nikola Tesla's time travel research. After Tesla's death, Donald Trump's uncle, John G. Trump, reportedly reviewed his...
Okay, so we got to go. I forgot this was in here. So now, because there's bloodline that was interacting with Tesla, so now this is further corroborating their story that he must be the Antichrist.
work. Did the Trump family unlock the secret to time travel? Wild coincidence or hidden truth? Let us know in the comments.
So now you know. I mean, he's an up-and-coming politician with awkward mannerisms that has a mysterious grandfather in the crowd that now is a time traveler, and his actually evidently because of their interaction, because of a great grandfather's interaction with Tesla, the original Tesla. Now we have their time travelers. So I find that interesting. I've also seen videos of Elon Musk's odd mannerisms, and they're trying to say that he's a robot. So I mean, it is just unbelievable how far we're going with this, and none of this stuff is speaking to. Because they're not getting anywhere with the policy stuff, now we got to start doing this other crap. You know, there has been no real support of religion or God or anything else at all from opposition to Trump's policies or anything else up to this at all. And they're opposed to it. Most people that are vehemently opposed to Trump are vehemently opposed to God stuff, anything God, anything about the Bible. That's just, it's rules. And God forbid we have rules and structure. So that has been a problem. But now all of a sudden they can't get win any other way. So now all of a sudden we're hearkening on the Bible with Antichrist comments about Trump's kid, and that Trump's the last president, and that the end times are here and all this other stuff because people are not happy with the man that got rid of all of their preferences based on any number of things. And there was a wide range of things. And at the same time, from a public people that were our elected officials were extorting us using um, our personal needs and pandering to those, acting as if they were noble, setting that whole framework up so they were actually making money. And that's not really hard to make a conspiracy on that. It actually, you can see the line of how it was happening. It's far less of a stretch to feel that a group of people that were underqualified for their job would use media and other sources to manipulate people to keep them in jobs so they could keep the money flowing, than it is to say that your elected president has a kid who's not only bad because of his posture change, but and his political aspirations potentially, and his business aspirations potentially, but that he is the Antichrist and now a time traveler. So I find that very interesting. I guess what I'll say is a few things. One is I do believe the Antichrist is going to be here. I do believe in the Bible, and I follow it the best I possibly can as a very flawed man. But I don't. My opinion is that this is stretching big time. In the Bible that I read, the Antichrist has some very specific criteria around it, and I don't see any of those things that exist. Well, let's say the totality of them is certainly not barren, but who knows? You know, I'm not God, and I don't have prediction of that whole thing. But I find it interesting that there was no notice of Barron being the Antichrist until Trump rises to the presidency again. You couldn't put him in prison. You don't like his policies because he's not, he's not doing everything you want him to do. You don't like rules and aggressive posture towards America. That's too mean or whatever. But, United States of America is a business, whether we like it or not. It's in the business of going against other businesses that are ruthless businesses like our competitive nations. That's just what it boils down to. And if you can't get that through your head, then you're missing the entire point of what's going on right now, because it is not about good people doing good things for others. People in those offices are typically trying to operate the business of the United States of America, and they have the framework of law that is the Constitution. And as so much as we bend that, twist that for our own personal needs, we're missing the entire point of why we're here. We can certainly have an entire government that makes sure that we get handed every single thing that we want, and we'll have a government that falls at our knees, and we'll be run over by countries that don't give a crap about what you think or feel or anything else. So I personally believe in this system because I think it's the best option we have. It is flawed. There are things that we need to improve, but I certainly don't think our president is the father of the Antichrist. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Do you think that Barron Trump is the Antichrist? Do you think that the Trump family is tapped into time travel? Do you think Barron Trump time traveled? Do you think that Donald and Barron were part of a book written in the 1900s and they actually are just the manifestation of that now because they've been traveling in time? I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. By my smirk, and so I can't help it. I've been trying to be neutral on this, but this is really kind of funny and it's ridiculous. And guess what? If I'm wrong, you can pull this video up later and say, look, told you he was the Antichrist. And you know what? Isn't going to matter. My opinion isn't going to matter for crap then, because if he is the Antichrist, then we're in the end times and all of us got a lot of other things to worry about. So that's kind of what my thoughts were on this one. I wanted to share. It's certainly a bit of a departure from my normal content, but it just shows how hysterical we get about things, and we don't accept reality at all. And that is a recovery principle, is accepting things as they are and not as we'd have them be. And you cannot kick and scream and manipulate the media and cause other things to happen and change reality. They've been doing it for the last 4 years and then some. We've been changing reality before our eyes nonstop. But it's all been through stories and through media influence. It has not been what the actual reality is. Right now, we got a country that was in trouble. We got a president that's trying to course correct that as best as he knows how. I hope that he does it successfully, and I hope that we all thrive, including those that are offended by him now. And I hope they see it when they're thriving versus just staying stuck in the mud of a constant fight of this media nonsense. And we had drones and aliens before, and all of a sudden drones and aliens aren't a thing anymore. Apparently, drones and aliens don't matter when you think that President Trump's kid is the Antichrist and a time traveler. So, and I wish that these were just a few examples from the exact same content creator, but they are not, and they only took me about 5 minutes to find them. There are plenty more out there. These are the ones that I thought would correlate best together. So anyway, I hope this video was informative for you tonight. I hope that it at least framed your mind to understand that people are not thinking clearly right now, and maybe question your own thinking about all of it. And if nothing else, maybe you're just entertained. Guys, please like and subscribe. Comment. I'm curious. Do you think Barron Trump is the Antichrist? That would be interesting to me to see what your thoughts are on that one. Whether he is or isn't, between now and the next time we talk, I'm going to do everything I can do to stay out of trouble. I hope you can too.